Hey, what's up, YouTube? We're back with another video today, and this one is going to be a refresher for a previous video we made on basically just ranking every single warbond in the game because it's been quite a few months. I think it's been around 6 months since we did it last, but I've been getting a lot of questions of like, hey, this warbond came out. I haven't played since this date. What warbond should I buy? What do you think of this one? What do you think of that one? This patch happened. Do you think differently about this warbond? I want to set the record straight and just go through all the warbonds in the game today, talking about the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, and, you know, finishing up the video today with possibly not like a super definitive buy order, because I do want to say before we get into this, obviously this is my opinion and how I play the game. Everybody will have their own kind of approach to what they find fun. Why are they buying warbonds? Why are you buying warbonds? Are you doing it more for fun? Are you doing it for more for like meta progression? Is it just the drip? Who knows? But I'm going to try and give you my best opinion on how everything performs from like a meta perspective and just like how fun it is for me personally, and then try and give you some advice on what buy order at the end. So if you guys enjoy the video, if you do like it, consider leaving a like, comment down below maybe what your buy order is, because I did notice in my last video that a lot of people tended to maybe like disagree with a few things and, you know, state the reason why in the comments down below. It actually was really helpful, and some people really like that. So consider doing it. Let's get into it. All right, starting off with our first warbond, we have the Helldivers Mobilize. Fantastic first warbond. I don't really have to go into too much on it other than to say that I wouldn't shy away from using some of these weapons. They've added a lot to them over the course of like many updates over the last 2 years. And a lot of these have, you know, actually grown to be much better weapons than they were at the launch of the game. So like you definitely like shouldn't shy away from using them. You know, even like the SMGs, they have done so many changes to them, increasing their durable damage and their overall damage per shot, being very good close range weapons. They have changed and adapted to the current form of Helldivers quite a bit. So I would highly recommend. And as far as like, you probably noticed that the medal count of each individual page increases pretty fast. So I almost wouldn't go super far into the warbond before maybe starting to look at other options, because you're probably going to get to the point where maybe you have 1,000 super credits sitting around and you're like, I don't know if I want to save up 300 plus medals just for one additional page of this warbond. Maybe I should look around. If that's kind of what you're thinking, I'd probably stop at around page 6 or 7, because this is where like I would say the last few like really good weapons are before it starts to get very expensive, and before you get to like the bottom, which is arguably worth it. The Scorcher's fantastic, but it takes a while to get down there, so keep that in mind. But yeah, solid, fantastic first warbond for many. Highly recommend. It's just, yeah, honestly, just a great choice, and it's hard to argue against it. Just so many good options in it. It's going to be our baseline for like solid good. Next, we have Steel Veterans. This came alongside the launch of the game. Once again, they have made many changes to like even weapons that, you know, were obviously not particularly well liked at the beginning of the game, but have seen quite a bit of upticks in how much they've been used. Even the Senator still is like your awesome Hulk killing weapon and just like large heavy hitter. Sidearm, always very useful. Liberator Concussive turned into quite the support weapon with a massive magazine, very fun to use. Some people absolutely still love the servo assisted, so there's a lot of like positives here, although some things like Incendiary Grenade, not always the most powerful grenade out there and everybody's not using it, but still a good option for those bug breaches. Incendiary Breaker did get overshadowed by the Cookout and still does, but an excellent first incendiary weapon to try and jump into the game. But just remember, don't spam fire it too much. Dominator is still your bolter-like weapon in Helldivers. Fantastic pickup. Very heavy hitting, tons of stagger, has maintained a high ranking in all my tier lists. So, you know, I think it's still a good good overall like weapon warbond. Doesn't obviously have any stratagems in it, and maybe that might be something you're very excited for, but it's still like very solid. You know, I still think it holds a pretty high ranking just because it has those, you know, top like Senator Dominator picks, and then it's got some like fairly good alternative, maybe off meta picks like the, you know, Liberator Concussive or the Incendiary Breaker. Still good, but not nearly picked as much. Okay, going into our next one, Cutting Edge. Cutting Edge is our mostly energy weapon loadout. Sickle, once a super dominant weapon, has definitely started to see its age as we've gotten more and more powerful weapons. I'm looking at you, Trident, which we just got and we'll get to later. Sickle's still a good option as like your overall like laser AR, a limited ammo as long as you don't fire it too much and overheat it. You can get some decent boosters with localized confusion, better for newer players that might be feeling overwhelmed. Plus, Punisher did get an update more recently, giving it some more damage and more AoE. It still feel like it's just pushing around enemies a little bit too much, but I do think it's like a very solid option for definitely your like smaller bugs and voteless, and it can do some decent damage to enemies that are weaker to explosive damage. You know, I'm looking at you, Devastators and Overseers. Stun grenades, the armor passive is pretty good, but it's more just you protecting yourself from your teammates that bring the Tesla tower, or if you are an illuminant enjoyer, you know, if you get too close to a harvester or their Tesla towers, it can help you, but I probably wouldn't recommend bringing this unless your team is like full arc loadout, you know, which doesn't always happen. Still, a surprisingly good option is the Blitzer. Fire and not really pay attention kind of weapon. If you don't want to have to aim and you just want to shoot at everything in close range, stun them and do respectable damage, Blitzer's still there. Unlimited ammo. Yeah, just a solid weapon. And then the dagger, pretty good. Pretty good. I would say Cutting Edge probably goes closer to B+. I would rate it above Steel Veterans just because you start to get like some like solid, like all around beginner type loadouts, weapons that you probably don't have to pay as much attention to as you're using them, like the Blitzer. A good overall support booster with localized confusion, just, you know, nothing insane inside of it. Once again, no stratagems, but we're getting some solid weapons to, you know, flesh out your armory. Okay, next we have the one, the only Democratic Detonation. I don't think anyone will be surprised with where I put this. You get the Thermite, which is still an insane meta pick. Adjudicator, which is like, it's pretty good. You know, it's medium pen AR, so if you didn't get all the way down to Liberated Penetrator, you know, it'll probably be your first medium pen AR, which is good. Nothing insane, but good. Eruptor, so good, so amazing still. Good armor with reducing recoil and extra throwables, especially if you're dying a lot. You're going to get a lot of benefit out of those extra throwables. Extraction Pilot, not the best. It's probably the weakest part of this overall Warbond, but it is what it is. Just ignore it. Grenade Pistol, absolutely S tier. Sidearm just for utility and some decent grenade launcher damage. Just heads up, we did test it. It did not get heavy pen, and the same with 1-2 punch. Little tidbit there. And Exploding Crossbow, fantastic. You guys will not be surprised. It's S tier. You're not surprised, let's be honest. All right, next going to Polar Patriots. Polar Patriots probably was our first Warbond, which we were just like super disappointed in. It came out and it was like extremely lackluster. They did come back and they like improved it a lot. You know, Tenderizer is your battle rifle, put it in burst fire. It'll remind you of Halo. Motivational Shocks has seen some better, you know, improvements and no longer benefits the enemies. It did that for a while. Very funny. Pummeler still not in the best shape. If you ask Thick Fillet, he still wants his changes to it, and I would agree. You can put a massive magazine on it with the modifiers. It's cool, but I would probably just rather use the Defender. Incendiary Impact, I'm still a fan of the regular incendiary weapon over the Incendiary Impact, but solid option. The armor is something you probably already have due to the basic Warbonds, so it's mostly just there for drip. The Purifier, though, is the thing that kind of keeps it above water and actually at the top of the B tier for me, because the Purifier is actually a significantly powerful weapon if you're okay with charge weapons. But even if you're not, I would recommend trying it out because you can still tap fire it, and the charge feature of it and the overall damage profile of it is, it feels like just a somewhat subdued version of the crossbow, because you obviously you don't get all the utility of the crossbow, but you can fire this weapon far more often because it has a larger magazine and it reloads faster and so on and so forth. I really like the Purifier. It's constantly near the top of my tier lists and I just adore it. I would highly recommend giving it a try, but it is a bit unfortunate that the rest of the Warbond is not as crazy. The Verdict, solid medium pen sidearm until you get like the Talon and stuff like that. really fun to use. But yeah, I can't go crazy on the Polar Patriots. It's gonna be at the top of B tier. I would love to put it in like bottom of A tier or something like that, but I don't think it quite puts itself there. It does get overshadowed in a bunch of different ways from a bunch of different Warbonds, and it's another one of those Warbonds that doesn't have any support weapons or any stratagems in it, so it's mostly just fleshing out things that you might be missing in the rest of your armory. So all right, going to Viper Commandos. Viper Commandos has that Rambo look to it. It has an awesome armor perk that is very unique to it, but remember, you don't need to buy this Warbond in order to get the armor perk. You could always go to the superstore, scroll through, and find your corresponding page and just buy the Jaguar armor, which has the same perk on it. Keep that in mind. So if you just really want the armor and you don't want to buy the rest of the Warbond, you could just go do this. All right. And I think the price on this is like 200 or 300 super credits. So significantly less. But, you know, let's say you are interested in quite a few things. It's probably better just to buy the Warbond, get the 300 super credits back, and enjoy some of the other toys. Libera Carbine. It's the like mini stalwart, more or less. You put the drum mag on this thing. It's very fun to use. Highly recommend. Put a vertical grip and probably compensator. Make a little laser beam. Bushwhacker. Tons of knockback. Fantastic for bug missions in particular. I love it for predator strain. When those stalkers are just running at you and you just need some space, throwing this on, fantastic use for that. Throwing knives, still a meme, but maybe you like them. They gave you a lot of them. There's like 20 of them to throw at them, but nothing crazy. Experimental Infusion, still one of the top 5 boosters that people tend to pick, giving you some damage resistance and some extra speed when you activate your stim. A little bit of annoying yellowing effect on your screen, but it's okay. I like Viper Commandos. I like it overall, but I don't think it's some kind of must buy. You're going to hear a lot of people that go crazy about this Warbond, but because you can buy the armor from the superstore, it's usually something that I tend to put lower on the tier list. I believe the last time we did this tier list, I put it closer to like C tier. I'm going to put it like bottom of B probably for now. I don't think it's going to go into C tier. Throughout the end of this video, I'll probably move some things depending on how things, you know, fill out and so on and so forth. But I'm going to put it bottom of BU tier for now. We'll see if it moves. All right. Next, we have Freedom Flame. Really fun overall Warbond, mostly because you get the cookout. Just like, it's basically just an upgrade to the Punisher. You lose some base damage, but you get incendiary damage, which is insanely good in Helldivers. Very good. The vast majority of enemies in the game can be let on fire, and they actually made a change to fire not too long ago where the size of the enemy means that they take more or less damage. Larger enemy takes more damage than a smaller enemy. It was a way for them to balance it so like small enemies weren't always just dying immediately and large enemies were just laughing at you putting them on fire. Good change. But Cookout, still a fantastic weapon for just spraying at a group of enemies. And I mean spraying. You could be at like 100 meters and just spray the pellets on all these enemies and light them on fire. You will get a ton of kills doing that even. It's crazy. Reduced fire damage, great for dragon roaches. If you're on those hive planets, good, solid. Torture, I often use this instead of the stratagem flamethrower because the damage is quite similar. It's kind of hard to notice at times, and the torture just does a lot of what the stratagem flamethrower does, but with better ergonomics, and it frees up your stratagem slot for something else. I really like the torture. You get fire hell pods. Crisper recently got a larger magazine. Cool, but it's mostly just like the torture. If you don't want to take the torture, you want to just a sidearm that gives you some fire to put on the ground or light things on fire. Still a good option. I really like the sidearm and the buff to larger magazine. Good choices. So Freedom Flame, I'm gonna put an A. I think the cookout and the torture alone bring it above a lot of the other choices that we have here. Very high value there. The armor, although situational, can be very good for those lava planets or hive worlds for the dragon roaches. It's actually one of the more useful armor sets out there. But do bear in mind, a lot of people tend to just buy the heavy salamander for the people who are doing like bot missions out there versus like the incendiary core. Really good armor to buy, but you don't get that inside the Warbond. If you want the heavy armor, you get the medium, and the light. Both good options, but the heavy armor makes a big difference versus an incendiary core on the automaton front. Just a heads up. I do like Freedom Flame so much just because it has that cookout, man. That cookout is so good. And it's pretty universal. Every single faction, it's good against. Even the bots. You'd be surprised to hear that. They're very weak to fire. All right. Chemical Agents is your, like, support weapon, more or less, Warbond. But it has some amazing utility in it with the gas grenade. Amazing grenade. Easily top 5. Fantastic. So good. The armor isn't too special. The only armor that actually really shines that has the gas resistances is actually in the Superstore. It's the heavy gas resistance. If you have that vitality perk and you stand in gas, you take no damage. So you're just sitting there laughing at all the enemies that are delirious around you taking damage. You're damage immune. Pretty cool. Sterilizer, it's all right. I don't think it's like a terrible support weapon, but usually it's better just to kill the enemies rather than watch them just walk around aimlessly. But it's not an absolutely, you know, like bad pick as a support weapon because often you can just kind of run around gassing everything and then you just run through the objectives. Like if you go through a bug nest, like just tap everything with a little bit of gas, throw your grenades in and just keep going. Nothing will really touch you, which is pretty entertaining. A stim pistol still doesn't have auto tracking, which sucks. So a lot of shots will be missed, but great for team play. And the creme de la creme, the dog breath is just insane. They improved that AI about a year ago now, I think. And it's just way smarter. It spreads the gas out. Once the target has been affected by gas, it goes on to the next target, next target, next target. Really good. And we recently talked about it in conjunction with the hammer. It does gas damage, which goes through armor, and it does like chip damage. And it's just enough to allow you to one bonk a behemoth charger, which is fantastic. So easily in the A tier, absolutely love it. Really good choice for people out there, especially new players. Just a lot of utility to make the game easier. Gas grenade by itself will make your missions easier. It just does. It's a lot of CC in it. And I like the team play that comes out of some of the other stuff, right? You know, it's a teammate struggling, throw a gas grenade at them. All right, Truth Enforcers. This was the original drip warbond. The weapons haven't changed too much since they've been added. It is easier to swap between the ammunition types because they've added all these keybinds and they've made it easier and put on the left side. The halt is still pretty mid-tier unless you use the light EMS rounds a ton. The dead sprint perk is still a community hated perk, even though I think it's actually not that bad. But a lot of people say in my chat, I kick anyone who takes dead sprint. I hate that mentality, but they do it anyways. It is what it is. I think it's not that bad, especially if you're not one of those people that has OCD that needs to constantly be at 100% health. It's a fairly good perk at keeping you alive and keeping you at full stamina speed, because if you don't know, if you run out of stamina, you like lose like not 50% of your run speed, but you lose a lot of your run speed all of a sudden, and that could get you killed if there's a stalker on your butt. Reprimand is probably the, you know, star of this warbond. Really good. Medium pen SMG. It doesn't feel as, you know, prolific as it once was. A lot of people used to use it all the time. It doesn't get as much usage as it once did. But with the changes to the sway, it does feel a little bit better. They reduced the sway on SMGs and pistols, which is great. Not something that like you'll feel like you absolutely need, but always a good choice if you're looking for medium pen weapons. The armor has seen some uplifts. They basically gave it half of the extra padded, so you get that extra 25 armor rating. You get the unflinching. Remember, that doesn't stop you from, it doesn't stop you from being flinched and like staggered. It stops you from being aim punched. So if you fire a laser cannon, like let's say you're shooting the laser cannon and you get shot, you're going to be rock steady aiming at that target. You're not going to like, you know, flinch upwards and start missing. Or if you're shooting a rocket launcher at a target, you get flinched right as you're about to click, you're going to stay on target. You're not going to flinch up and shoot the sky. So a lot of people are always confused with that. It's still like a good perk, but a lot of people get confused about what exactly it's doing for you. Markers on your map generate a radar ping. Pretty good for scouting if you're looking for side objectives. Pretty decent. Loyalist is just a like small version of the Purifier. Not always my favorite, just because typically when I use a sidearm, I want it to do something immediately. I don't want to have to charge for it, but you know, not necessarily a bad thing. It's once again one of those Warbonds that like doesn't have anything crazy in it, and it doesn't have any like stratagems like we're going to talk about in the later ones. So it does definitely fall short. It's more of a drip Warbond. I don't think it's terrible by any means, but it does fall behind a lot of other Warbonds that feel like they're more impactful for your gameplay. It's obviously got some of the best drip in the game, so if you want that, go for it. Urban Legends, this was like the introduction of starting to see stratagems and melee weapons. We probably have one of the better melee weapons in the game with the Stun Lance. Stun Lance is fantastic, not because it does so much damage as a melee weapon, but more so the fact that it stuns the enemy that you're meleeing, so it can't melee you back. As long as you get the first melee off, you can stun them. That actually is really important because hit trading in this game, you're going to lose that brute commander every time unless you're just spamming a lot of stims. Directional shield, some people like it more than the ballistic shield. Solid choice as a stratagem in your offhand. Not always my go-to, but decent. And it does pair somewhat well with like melee weapons and somewhat stuff like that, but ballistic shield is better. One of the best armor sets in the game, you know, easily like top tier. People are still waiting for the medium set, unfortunately. Arrowhead, where is it? But it's just so good. Reload speed and giving you more ammo, and it affects support weapons that don't have a backpack. Really strong, especially with that new GL buff. Flame Sentry, it's all right. If you place it in the right spot, it's pretty damn good, but a lot of times it's not going to be as useful as other turrets out there. Not a terrible turret, but not one of the better ones. It's probably near the bottom of all the turret stratagems. Arm resupply pods, it's okay. Nothing really to call home about. I only really see it used on defense missions for a little bit extra firepower next to your generators to protect them. Next, we have the anti-tank emplacement, probably the thing that most people are going to get this Warbond for, other than the armor. The anti-tank emplacement is insane for bot missions in particular, but it shines really brightly versus Illuminate missions just because it all around, the anti-tank emplacement does really well against flesh mobs, against the harvester you can see above, and it snipes Leviathans out of the sky. Probably one of the most effective tools on that. You're going to get less uses on it on the bug probably, just because you're going to have so many bugs on top of you unless you can protect yourself somehow or have teammates protect you. But it's really good versus the Hive Lord if you can kind of get some distance from them. You can just spam shots at them. But it works the best on bots. It's so good for sniping objectives across the map and just sniping the larger, scarier bots across the board. Just so good. So freaking good. It still maintains that. It's got great armor. It's got one of the best melee weapons in the game. It's got the anti-tank emplacement, and it's got some solid other things that you can just like play around with, like the fire and stuff like that. You know, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good outside of like those prolific things. Next, we have the Borderline Justice. We got our Cowboy Warbond. So, Cowboy Warbond, we start off with the Repeater, Deadeye. I love this gun. It's fantastic, and especially if you pair it with one of the reload primary armors like we just showed, it's so much fun to use. I freaking love this thing. It did receive a little bit of a nerf indirectly when they buffed Devastator legs, so you don't just two-tap them, but obviously you can still one-tap them in the eye, so it's not that big of a deal, but it does kind of suck losing it. The armor, nothing too crazy unless you're just an absolute gunslinger, but it fits with, you know, the Talon. Fantastic sidearm. Probably the most liked sidearm overall in the game, I think I would say. Probably. Let me know in the comments down below, but medium pen, fantastic damage. Just don't fire it too fast. You'll overheat it, but really, really great sidearm to use and not have to worry about ammo. I see a lot of people use this. They love it. Dynamite was once pretty disappointing, but I love the changes that they made to it, upping the pen, giving it 1,000 damage. You can get really good at like cooking it, waiting for it to beep a couple times, and then throwing it at a charger as it's charging at you. It blows up right underneath its butt, kills it. It's a very satisfying throwable now. Easily in the top 5 of throwables. Highly recommend. It's a great addition to this Warbond. Sample extractor, if you're newer to the game, it basically just drops a common sample after killing larger enemies. It's typically like Hulk level or higher tier enemies. Just check their corpses after, you know, you've taken out a bot drop, and you might see some additional samples. It's not going to be like a printer of them, but it will give you a higher sample count at the end of the day. So it's pretty decent for you newer players. And then Hover Pack, an incredibly fun pack to use. Rather than going for sheer distance, it's going for height. They use it here for just elevating yourself above enemies and getting over walls, but you can get on top of things that enemies just can't get to you anymore. And that's super powerful. So if you like thinking with height in games, this is like an easy must pick. And it also pairs really well with the hammer. It allows you to start hammering some larger enemies in the face. Really fun. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. Borderline Justice is probably near the bottom of A tier, but I do think it stands above B tier just because it has Talon, it has the Dynamite, it has Deadeye, some really good contenders, some good drip, and it's got a good sample booster as well. So I do like it quite a bit, and I do recommend it to a lot of players when they start off. Okay, next, going to Servants of Freedom. Another great Warbond, double-edged sickle. If you pair this with being prone, vitality booster, and fire resistant armor, you can fire this thing a ton. Bring the supply backpack as well for just extra stims. This thing's great as it heats up, more armor penetration and damage. It's great. I love this thing. It's so much fun to use. It's a really fun weapon. The armor, nothing crazy. They did give it +2 nades. Good there, but the integrated explosives is more of just like a meme. It's nothing crazy. It's more often just going to get your teammate that it so happens to be standing next to you killed as well. So if you're looking for some laughs, that's going for it, but not necessarily something I get this Warbond for. The ultimatum is still so good as a secondary weapon. It often feels like a support weapon in your secondary slot. So good for an instant delete button for like larger enemies. Just remember there is that tech where if you have your primary weapon out and you swap to the ultimatum, but as you're swapping, you hold down the fire button, the pull-out animation gives you extra distance to your ultimatum shot, increasing the shot distance by like 2 or 3 times. Highly recommend that if you're picking it up. Secret Grenade is bugged right now. Apparently it's doing like no damage. I haven't tested it myself, but apparently it is. But when it is working, it's okay. It's kind of like a nice novelty. It can kind of get you killed because it kind of just tracks to the target closest to you. But they did change the AI to more likely favor flying targets, which is pretty cool. I did like that change quite a bit. But it's not my favorite grenade out there, but I did like that quite a bit. Probably the main reason most people are going to pick this up is Portal Hellbomb. I love this thing. It's so powerful. It is an absolute game changer if used correctly. Even if just for memes, it's really good for taking out stratagem jammers without having to do all the fluff of hacking it. It's really good for certain objectives that need a Hellbomb. You can be that guy. You don't need to call in a Hellbomb anymore. You're that guy. You're the main character. Run it in, arm it, run out. Awesome. Also fantastic for just like really large bug breaches and stuff like that. Wait for the enemies to kind of pool up a little bit, run a Hellbomb in there, run away, kaboom. It can take out a ton of stuff. Great Warbond. Highly recommend. Another fantastic one. Gonna probably be closer to the A-. It's just barely beating out like Polar Patriots in my eyes. It's mostly just down to the portable Hellbomb is extremely useful. Like it's really useful stratagem to have on your team. So I'm going to put it in A- for that reason. Going over to a very controversial one when it first came out, but I think it's been redeeming itself ever since, is Masters of Ceremony. The armor at one point was extremely lackluster, but they did change it quite a bit. 20% more melee damage. Remember, if you're like, wait, I remember that used to be higher. What they did was they buffed the base damage of all melee weapons and they lowered the damage increase from the armors, making it so you don't need to wear the armors to make melee weapons feel better. But I mean, hey, it's still there, 20% damage, nothing to scoff at. You get the reload of the siege armor perk of that faster reload on primary weapons. Extremely useful for some weapons like crossbow or weapons that have to reload after every shot or something like that. Very strong. Deadeye, absolutely love it with the Deadeye. And then the last one is 50% chance to avoid grievous limb injury. Not my favorite, but it can be fairly nice for running away and stopping yourself from taking like a leg injury and forcing yourself to have to stim, or let's say taking like a chest injury and bleeding. It's not the best armor, but it's also not the worst. It did get a lot better with the reload and the melee damage though. Amendment, absolutely love this game, love this game for having this gun. I love the gun just because it's so satisfying. It might be a light pen weapon, but it has tons of durable damage, and the fire rate, if you can tap it like if you have a good tap trigger, it's really strong. Absolutely love the sound of it as well. It's a very satisfying weapon if you got good trigger finger and good accuracy. Great weapon, highly recommend. And the bayonet on it is pretty useful at times for saving you some ammunition. Saber, more of a side swiping melee weapon instead of a poke weapon, so more for ad clearing, good against voteless in particular. The flag, it's still a meme. They still haven't given it a buff to it. It's probably the weakest part. Well, it is the weakest part of the Warbond, but if you're an RP or drip enjoyer out there, or if you just like are finding the game and too easy, that's a good choice for you. Go for it. Have fun. Pyrotechnic grenade, at one point, people were just making fun of it, but it ended up being one of the more powerful nades in the game. The damage on it is quite interesting because there's like 3 forms of damage it does. It does the sparklers, which is like pure damage, tick damage over time. And then it explodes, which is the 50 damage. And then it leaves fire on the ground. So it's like good damage when it's spinning next to an enemy, like really good damage. You can kill a harvester kind of good damage. Then it explodes, then it leaves fire. It's 3 nades in one, and you get 6 of them. Yeah, 6. I love this nade. It's easily one of the better ones in the game. Highly recommend, especially for like throwing at a bunch of bug breaches or just like dealing with, bug holes and stuff like that. It's just really good. Highly recommend it. If you haven't picked it up or like never really given it a try, it's great. It's great on all factions. It's really nice. Sample scanner, just like the one that we saw earlier. Just a really good one for early game. People that are like under level 75 and they still need tons of samples. This will just give you more passive sample income. This one, you don't have to put as much effort into like checking underneath bodies. It's just every time you pick up a sample, there's a 15% chance to double it. Really nice. Especially for people that maybe are having trouble finding like some of the rare samples in the game. Hey, 15% chance to double it. That's pretty nice, pretty decent. Master Ceremony, it's a little bit, I'm hesitant to put it in A tier because I know a lot of people are going to be like, it's got that stupid flag in it. Why is it an A tier? But it has a soft spot for me. It's got decent armor. It's got the amendment, which I think is like, I have a soft spot for that thing. It's got the pyrotechnic grenade, which is actually one of the better grenades in the game. But against my better, with better judgment and a clear head, I will be putting it in B tier. I still think it's a good Warbond, but it's more for people that are looking to get a little bit of role play out, or maybe for those specific things that I talked about inside that Warbond. But it hurts me, man. I so badly want to put it in A tier. So badly. All right. Next, we have Force of Law. Force of Law has been in a weird state. Pacifier started off in this crazy state where like even just a few bullets stunned even the biggest enemies, but they've kind of rebalanced it. It was basically what was happening was the larger your party was, like the more players you were playing with, so a maximum of 4, the better it was at stunning. And if you're playing solo, it was worse at stunning. Really weird. They fixed that bug, but they kind of brought it somewhere in the middle where it wasn't stunning at all and like stunning everything immediately. And now it's in this middle spot, which is like okay, but it's like the damage is lower. So it's really good for like stunning an enemy and then shooting a weak point. But a lot of people will just be like, I'd rather just have more raw damage, and I can't blame them, especially when they've been buffing all the other light pen ARs and medium pen ARs so much that it just kind of feels like it's been left behind. It's got a lot of CC, but a lot of people tend to tell me I'd rather just use the Liberate Concussive, and I can't blame them. The armor is a bit of a weird one because it gives you chest resistance, and a lot of times when you get shot in this game, your arms are in front of your chest, so it's mostly just the back of your chest getting the resistance. The explosive resistance is decent, and reducing all damage from bleeding is actually way more impactful because at the beginning of the game, bleeding did like nothing to you, like literally nothing. But now it's actually like a very lethal thing. So having something on your armor, if you find yourself dying to bleeding a lot, maybe check this one out. But it's not a crazy armor, not crazy good. It's very situational in that regard. De-escalator has had a rough one. It went from being crazy overpowered in 4-player co-op and terrible in single player to being just kind of mid, and honestly even a little bit lower now that the regular GL got a recent buff to heavy pen. It definitely doesn't have as much like interesting going on, because it used to be like the only grenade launcher that had, you know, the arcing, which technically is like heavy pen, right? It can go through and kill like a Hulk in the eye if you shoot it there. It's mostly just for CC and like okay damage, but nothing really to go too crazy about. Stun pods, not particularly amazing. I don't love it. The Arc Dog K9 is great if you hate your teammates. What I mean by that, you have to stay away from your teammates. You can't play next to them when you have this thing on, because very often it will turn, zap a target next to you, and it will zap to your teammate, killing them immediately. You can obviously press the 5 key on your keyboard or down on your D-pad, putting the dog away anytime you're near your teammates. But this is more for like a solo gamer or someone who just goes off by themselves in a mission. It's very good, does a ton of damage and very good CC, but it's anti-teamwork. It very much is anti-teamwork, and you have to not kill your teammates, or else people are going to be very mad at you if you stand next to them and you constantly kill them. The Urchin is just a different flavor of the stun grenade. It did gain the ability to stun Bile Titans, which is pretty cool. Stick it to a Bile Titan, it's basically stunned for like 10 seconds, which is pretty neat. It just keeps getting staggered over and over again as it pulses, but it's nothing crazy. I don't love stun grenades in this game when we have so many lethal grenades that are just so good, and we have gas grenades. Gas grenades are insane. I do not love this Warbond all that much. I feel as if it is quite lackluster at times. It definitely needs some love. So the Force of Law Warbond tends to be near the bottom of my tier list. I still think it could be so much better in like one patch that just like buffs stunning and makes all these like, you know, stun oriented stratagems and utility better. But at the moment, it's probably the lowest rated Warbond for me outside of the Legendary Warbonds. We'll get to the Legendary Warbonds, but it's got to be one of the lower ones for me, just because it feels like it fights you with this Warbond. Like it's got some serious negatives tied to it, and it's got to be the right kind of person to pick up this Warbond. So keep it in mind when looking at it. Next, we have the Control Group, an absolute banger Warbond. The variable is an extremely fun Warbond. It's an AR, shotgun, and like elephant gun all in one. Very fun to use. Highly recommend just like messing around with this thing. It can do some awesome things, and I love pairing it with the teleport backpack, teleporting through a Hulk, turning around, putting all the all-in-one shot, and one-shotting it in the radiator. So much fun. Love doing that. It's just a great one. The Epoch had a really rough start at things, but I think the community is really coming around on it since they made it easier to use. I love this thing. I call it the Epog for a reason. It feels great. It is anti-armor and a little bit of anti-infantry. Once you get used to the reload and the timing on it, I think it can be an easy contender and usually sticks around A tier for every single faction in my tier lists. It's just a really solid, fun weapon, and it doesn't require a backpack to be anti-armor. So that's fantastic. Next, we have the armor. The armor sounds really good on paper, but then when you use it, it's got like a lot of downsides. So basically what it does is when you take lethal damage, but nothing that'll like outright obliterate you, like lose a limb or something like that, just enough damage from like a blaster shot or a swipe or something like that, it'll essentially just keep you alive. Your health will slowly tick down though, and you're going to be in this seriously injured state, so you can't run around. It's kind of just like a down but not out kind of state, but I don't love it. It doesn't really last that long unless you have someone like continuously stimming you and healing you, and you're like really limited on movement speed while in it. And the secondary perk is just 50% arc damage resistance, which is not something crazy because arc damage is really high in this game. So 50% reduction is nice on paper, but when you compare it to the other armors that have arc resistance on them, it's like 95%, which if you know anything about damage resistances, that is exponentially better than 50%. The laser sentry still maintains its meh status. It's okay in like the lower tier difficulties, but if you try to bring this in anything higher tier, it just overheats basically immediately without doing much impact. You're better off bringing another turret in like the vast majority of situations. The arc nades are slept on a lot. These things are great. They're essentially like bouncing betties. Like you throw them to the ground and then every time they explode with arc, they bounce, and they bounce like, I think it's like 5 or 6 times, doing a good, respectable amount of damage. And if you know anything about arc, it's actually heavy pen plus, right? So you can do some really good stunning damage and just like ad clear with these things. I think a lot of people just kind of hated on them because when they first came out, they were bugged and it wasn't showing your enemy count of how many things it was killing. But it's extremely good for like throwing on top of a bug breach and just like stunning and just doing very strong damage to like ads. You know, it's not going to outright kill a lot of your bigger enemies, but it will stun them very reliably, which is nice, while doing very good damage for the small enemies. Obviously, top pick for this Warbond is the Warp Pack. Extremely good and useful and great for farming super credits. You can very reliably warp into bunkers and get super credits out of them. Fantastic. Highly recommend this Warbond. I'm not going to quite put it in S tier because I don't think there's anything like super game changing in it, but it's a really fun Warbond with some great utility and like overall stuff in it. It's got like, it doesn't have like a clean sheet of like everything's amazing, but it's really good Warbond. Highly recommend. Easily A+ tier, easily. Okay, next going to Dust Devils. Dust Devils, an amazing Warbond. It's really good. Coyote, still one of the best Warbonds in the game. The fire damage, medium pen, really easy to use. It's got that Kalashnikov type weapon feel to it. It's like your old, you know, tried and tested, like you can't put it down. It feels really good. Highly recommend. The armor, get a little bit of flow range, and it has the universal damage resistance perk on it. Very useful, honestly, in a lot of situations. It's got some good drip in it. Spear gun, a great support weapon. It's kind of like an in-between of like an AMR or a railgun and like the sterilizer, where it has a lot of CC, but it's also like tank pen, which is like really useful for like your larger enemies. It really clicks for you when you get a situation where all the enemies are running towards you through like a narrow gap and you actually on purpose shoot the ground and a gas cloud comes out and then you pull out another weapon and you just like lay fire into them, or you start over penning a bunch of enemies with the spear gun. Really satisfying. Really satisfying. Highly recommend. Great weapon. Expendable napalm, a really good, useful weapon for people that like those expendable weapons in their inventory. The expendable napalm is a ton of damage, especially if you place it correctly. Ton of fire. Really good. Highly recommend. Nice short cooldown, 2 minutes, and really useful, especially for defensive missions where you can just call them in back to back to back. Solo silo, really good, but it can sometimes be a little situational because you have to kind of throw it down, pick up the laser designator, run around a little bit maybe with the laser designator because it does take up your support slot. Don't stand too close to the solo silo because it'll knock your ass over, and you have to point at a target. You can paint the target if you want the laser to kind of keep going towards that target. Great damage, very useful. I just find it to be a little bit cumbersome, and honestly, compared to the new leveler that we just got, which is basically the Fat Man, there's a lot of times where I'd rather just use the Fat Man, pick it up, shoot it, keep going on with my life. But the solo silo is very cinematic and it's very fun for sniping objectives across the map. So I gotta give it some props. Great Warbond though, as you can see, it's easily gonna go into my S tier, even above Urban Legends, almost purely because the Coyote is so strong, and having like a good armor, solo silo, which is actually really good, spear gun, one of the better stratagems in the game for like all factions, expendable napalm, which is like extremely solid. It's just got a lot going for it all in one. And you might have been like, you forgot the pineapple. I still don't like this thing. I still overlook it. It did recently gain additional pineapple, or like an additional grenade, but it's more flash than actual like utility. Essentially you throw it, it blows up, and it like blows up again. I don't love it. I still don't. I'm sure there's some people out there that might try and convince me otherwise, but I would rather just use other grenades than this. I think giving an additional one was nice, and I'm happy they did it, but it still feels lackluster when I use it. All right, next going to the Python Commandos. Python Commandos is an interesting warbond. You get the 1-2 underbarrel grenade launcher with basically like a liberator body, light pen. It did not get the heavy pen grenade change, just a heads up if you're wondering. Didn't get it. So it's okay, but it's mostly just a liberator with a grenade pistol strapped to the bottom, which is pretty decent, but it's nothing crazy. Hot Dog is another flavor of guard dog. Another fantastic guard dog, though. This one, definitely one of the better ones out there, just for general ad clear, and fire is extremely good in this game for having very high pen, having very good ad clear, and just good damage even versus the larger enemies. Really strong. If you hate ragdoll, this is the armor for you. It essentially brings down things that might have ragdolled you down one tier and just staggers you. Now, it doesn't stop all ragdoll sources, but let's say a devastator rocket blows up next to you, it'll just stagger you. But if an automaton devastator rocket hits you, like direct impacts you, it'll still like ragdoll you. So there is some caveats to it. Some things will all of a sudden stop ragdolling you, and some things will still do it. But it's an interesting one. It has some decent melee damage on it if you're into that. But it's pretty good armor, especially if you are just tired of being ragdolled. We have the chainsword. Definitely not as good as the new hammer we just got, but it's fun. I'm still hoping for some changes on this because I just feel like it's been overshadowed by the hammer, but we'll see what they do to it in the future. I'm hoping for some changes. And then we have the jewel of this warbond, the maxi gun. It's not the most powerful stratagem in the game, but it is absolute cinema. Really fun to use. Absolute bullet hose like you would expect, but it has some downsides not being able to move with it. It's very sluggish, so you might want to use the peak physique armor set. And the last thing is the damage per bullet is quite low, so it will sometimes feel like you have to shoot a lot of bullets in order to kill something, but it kind of goes in with the ethos of like the weapon is shoot many bullets, kill many things. It's very fun to use, but it's definitely on the weaker side of all the warbonds. I'm not gonna like absolute dog on it, but I don't think it's like anything too crazy of a warbond. We'll see. Most warbonds, like I say, tend to age like fine wine, especially if they're on the more disappointing side when they come out. The Helldivers devs listen to the feedback and then they make changes over time. So I'm still expecting maybe some changes for the Python Commandos. Maybe. We'll see. I don't think it's a bad one, but I do want to put it near the bottom of B tier, closer to B-. I don't think it deserves to be in the C tier almost exclusively because the hot dog is actually a really good guard dog. All right, next going to the Redacted Regiment. The Redacted Regiment is for you stealth enjoyers out there. They did buff suppressors a ton. They are actually kind of OP because enemies are just stupid now. They just don't have any idea that they're being shot at all. When it comes to suppressed weapons, the sensor is more or less like the diligence and the amendment, a little less damage than the amendment, but I really like the sensor. It's a very satisfying weapon to use. Really enjoy it. The Reeducator is it's kind of like the stim pistol, but it shoots enemies with gas and then they're affected by gas, confusing them. It actually has a really high pen, so you can actually shoot the front faceplate of a Hulk and confuse them if they're running at you, which is kind of cool. So if they're getting really close to you, this is kind of like a get away from me weapon. It's kind of nice. The stealth armor actually feels useful now. You are incredibly stealthy when using this. It's really nice and it's very noticeable. The AR-59 suppressor is more or less the Liberator carbine, but with a suppressor. It feels extremely similar and has very similar stats to it. It brings down the damage a little bit, but you get a suppressor. You can put a 60-round magazine on it. They're very similar at the end of the day. So if you like that archetype of weapon, you got that. C4, clunky to use, having to swap back and forth between throwing and then detonating, but it's a really fun weapon to use. And it actually has quite a bit of like nice usage as far as just even being loud and just running around with it. It gets pretty satisfying throwing C4, using the quick bind to pull out the trigger and blowing up a Hulk immediately, it's pretty satisfying. I just wish it was more like easier to use like other games that I've seen for, where it's like left click to throw, right click to detonate. It doesn't feel like that. You have to put a quick blind and do like an extra and like an additional like click, and it just feels awkward at times. Also, only having 6, it's kind of on the lower side, but I'm sure you've seen those shorts where, you know, you see a person click the button and the entire map blows up because they put one piece of C4 on every objective and they completed the entire map in one click, which is pretty cool. If you're into that, you'll know. Lure mines, on the higher side of deployables, it's really fun to use just to throw down as enemies are chasing after you, and you can kind of throw them off to the side and go the opposite direction, and enemies from like a pretty decent range of maybe about 50 meters or so will run towards it, which is pretty nice. I do like that. The damage is mostly behind the shrapnel, it seems, so it can be a bit like hit or miss on how much damage it actually does. I've seen it one-shot a Hulk, and I've also seen it, you know, I've seen a Hulk tank 3 of these. So your mileage may vary with the lure mine. Concealed insertion is probably one of the better boosters out there because smoke is a lot better with how dumb AI are nowadays. It basically just creates a big smoke cloud and enemies will just not see you a lot of time, or will just not be able to shoot at you, which is pretty useful. Obviously, this one will be like your mileage may vary. If you are into stealth gameplay, you're probably going to put it closer to A tier. If you hate stealth, you'll probably put it closer to C tier. For that reason, I'm probably going to put it in the middle because I think if you like stealth, it's definitely high up there. If you don't like stealth, it's definitely really low. You know, just keep that in mind when going for the Redacted, but I think you'll know if you like stealth or not. But give it a try. Stealth missions with the commando missions that they added are pretty fun. Maybe not in the long term, but at least to try a couple times, they can be pretty fun. All right, the new Warbond, the Siege Breakers, is peak. That's like the best way to describe it. Trident is awesome. It's just so good. It cools down really fast, so you can get a very good like automatic shotgun vibe from it. It doesn't have crazy range, but like it feels so overpowered on cold planets and like very good on like a normal planet. The breaching hammer is like the perfect support melee weapon. This is what I've been wanting. I literally, when I was in Sweden and they brought us out, I was like, I would love to see a support melee weapon, and this is it. It feels so good. Feels so good. The leveler is Fallout Fat Man, but in this game, it has very similar like characteristics to like the Solar Silo, but it has even larger damage radius, it seems. It's very satisfying to use. Don't listen to people that call it mid. They're just missing their targets. It's really good. The amount of times I've gotten like 30 kills with it is really high. And if you pair it with the bubble shield for that tech where like you throw the bubble shield out and then you shoot the leveler like right outside the bubble shield, the leveler deletes the bubble shield, but you're perfectly fine. Really cool tech. It's really fun. But yeah, leveler is extremely good. The bubble shield, at first, I didn't really love it all that much, and it's not particularly useful on bugs or on Illuminate. Like, it's got some more uses on Illuminate because it's got some ranged enemies, but it is peak on bot missions just for like just pure cover. There's gonna be a lot of situations where you're caught out by like a heavy's devastator and he's ripping you a new one, but you can just throw this down and hide in it and then blap him in the face. It's so satisfying. There's gonna be tons of situations where you're just like, damn, I wish I had a normal grenade, but I think that there's enough situations where you can use this that it feels good on bot missions that it actually is very good. Belt-fed grenade launcher, the way I explained it in my tutorial or like my review is that for a single stratagem, it is slightly better than the normal grenade launcher. You'll have to take more shots to destroy an enemy or take out a bunch of enemies, but you get a lot of shots and you don't have to reload it, which is really nice. But if you have the normal grenade launcher and you bring like a supply backpack or an arc dog or some grenade, like some kind of backpack that you really like, it'll be better than this thing. But that's like kind of unfair. It's 2 support weapons, 2 support slots versus 1, right? So keep that in mind. I do really like the belt-fed grenade launcher. I do kind of wish it had more ammo, but it is really fun to use. And for that reason, it deserves to be right up there with our other S tier picks. I absolutely love Siegebreaker. It's a fun and very useful warbond. I love it. Okay, now going into our legendary warbonds. These are a bit weird. They obviously cost more. They cost 1,500 and they don't have any super credits alongside. but I kind of put these last because I think they are more just cosmetic. I don't really recommend buying these right off the hop because they mostly have weapons that are not particularly unique or armor that is not unique to them. They're mostly just like cosmetic, obviously, trying to like branch between the two games. I'm gonna put them both in D tier, but that doesn't necessarily mean the weapons are terrible. It's just like your buy value out of it is pretty low unless you really want that cosmetic effect, right? That doesn't mean that it's like a terrible war bond, but you're more or less buying it for the cosmetic. There are some exceptions, like the accelerator rifle is technically a unique archetype. It's nothing crazy, and they did improve it quite a bit, but it's kind of like the outlier of this particular war bond. So in D tier goes. And then for the Halo, obviously the Halo stuff is really fun, but like the M90A is basically just the Punisher with like different stats. It hits harder, but it performs pretty damn similar, and it's on par, so it's still a good weapon, but it's on par there. M7S is more or less the like a worse version of like the Knight, but it's got a suppressor, which is cool. Suppressors are good now, so if you like stealth, maybe you appreciate it more. It's got pretty much the same like armor perk as the Redacted, so there's that. The MA5C assault rifle, it's cool assault rifle, but like the Adjudicator is very similar in nature. It's got a cool first person effect. It basically looks like you're playing Halo 1 Combat Evolved, but yeah. The SOCOM is it's solid pistol. If that really appeals to you, go for it. But once again, nothing here is like truly unique, which is why it's at the bottom. It's also more expensive and you don't get any super credits back. So it's like even more expensive. So, you know, don't take it the wrong way that I think they're like complete trash or anything like that, but they're definitely not worth as much bang for your buck wise as all the other war bonds listed above. Now, going into buy order. Yes, you more or less could just take S tier to D tier, going from left side to right side for every individual, you know, going from Democratic, Siegebreaker, Dust Devil, Urban Legends, you know, just go down on that order like you're reading a term paper. You could do that. And I don't think you would be too far off what I would actually recommend buy order wise. But I'm going to put a big but there. Your experience is important. What you find fun is important. If you are scrolling through these war bonds and you're like, oh my God, the warp pack looks so much fun, buy that before Democratic Detonation or before Siegebreakers, right? You can absolutely min-max this buy order and you go for like super utility focused war bonds like Democratic Detonation first, but Democratic Detonation isn't maybe gonna inspire as much fun as like Control Group. Control Group might just sing to you, right? So keep a mind on that. Scroll through, look through the different stratagems. But if you want to kind of like go for utility first, S tier is there. Siegebreakers is so much fun. I'm going to say it again. It's got a lot of utility and it's tons of fun. I highly recommend. Maybe that's even better than buying Democratic Detonation first. And that kind of hurts because I think Democratic Detonation is just such a good war bond. But yeah, more or less buy order, I think you could probably just follow the tier list and just, you know, bring some, you know, like personal flavor into your decision making as you go through. There's going to be some war bonds that you probably just disdain and you probably want to put for later. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my list here. I don't think I really want to change anything. Sorry to the people that absolutely love Viper Commandos. I know you're out there. I'm sorry, but it's being power crept. It's being power crept by quite a few different war bonds out there. Still hoping for some changes to Python Commandos and Force of Law and Truth Enforcers, but you know, we'll see. In another 6 months to a year, I'm sure we'll do another one of these, and I'm hoping to see them higher in that tier list. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please, like I said before, if you don't agree with something, please let me know. Please let me know and other viewers know, like, hey, this is what I recommend. Maybe, you know, Maple missed these things. There's going to be some things that I'm not really putting as much emphasis on that maybe you might be able to do in the comments down below. So anyways, please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed. It really helps out the video see more eyes. If you enjoyed this kind of content, we have many more on the channel. If you want to come by live, I stream basically every morning, 3 a.m. EST to about noon-ish EST, except for Mondays. We were playing a ton of Helldivers, obviously, right now with all the updates. But if there's any Helldiver update, you'll expect me to be there bright and early for every update. So yeah, peace out, YouTube. Have a good one. Bye.